All right, it's Tuesday, April 4th, and this is a midday SPY update. And you can see here to start out the week, after the SPY kind of moving up for 5 or 6 days in a row, we're in sort of a consolidation now phase, where yesterday, to start the week and the new month and the new quarter and everything, we had a little bit of follow through to the upside, but not much. And then today we started out above the high of the previous day, and then immediately came down, and now we have an outside day to the downside. And you can see here there's a bit of a fair value gap forming. There's all kinds of gaps and everything in this area. So, ideally, to continue on the upside, you'd want an active signal or an actionable signal, which would be like a 3, 2 down that fails, and then a 2 up. It's possible, we'll see how today closes. Maybe you get an inside bar, 3, 1, and then a back up. But since maybe tomorrow we start strongly above the midpoint of wherever today is and head higher. But it's right now, this is choppiness, this is broadening action. So we want to see if we get a little bit of follow through down to fill in these gaps, or if this is just the temporary pause, which we were kind of looking for somewhere in here. That gives you an actionable buy signal some point later in the week. So we'll see how today closes. But in terms of the price action, again, coming into this week, you knew you had a bit of exhaustion risk. So yesterday, you can see there was just a brief, first 15-minute bar went up, and you went up in the morning for a trade, and then you immediately came down, because that's anytime you're in exhaustion risk and you're going up day after day after day. Yeah, that opening trade certainly worked out for about 45 minutes, and then at that point, you're at exhaustion risk, and it's not surprising you get that kind of move. But then it immediately rallied again for the rest of the day. So it was one of those things where you would take kind of the opening trade, hopefully scale out or take some quick profits, just knowing you're at exhaustion risk, and just kind of watch, and there's not much else to do. Today was a little different in the sense that the pre-market range between the blue lines, we started here near the bottom of it. We tried to rally, couldn't take out that first bar high anywhere near the pre-market highs. Yesterday, this first move up was above the pre-market highs, and then once you came down kind of to the halfway point of that first bar, you kind of sensed you were going to take out these the intraday low and the pre-market low, and at that point you wanted to you would get short in here and see how you react to that level, and it just kind of sliced right through it. So now and then once you kind of took out the high of the previous day, then took out the midpoint of the previous day, you're anticipating taking out the low of the day, and that's where price went down here, took out the low of the day. There was your target. So there was a nice trade in the morning. Now you're kind of rallying a little bit. Let's see if we get a secondary sell to end the day, where maybe you get a red to green, a green to red move here, and you kind of test those lows again. That's all you can look for this afternoon if it wants to unfold. It's possible, given the 3 bar just kind of broadening out, higher highs and lower lows, we kind of work back up in line with the overall trend again. So you're just gonna have to let price action see what happens this afternoon. But at the moment too, this is a key level, this yellow line. That's the start of the new week and the new month and the new quarter. So anytime you're above that, that's bullish. Right now, if we're below it, we'll continue to look for a little more of a pullback until we get back above it again. So we're kind of hovering. You can see here intraday right at that line, that yellow line. At the moment on the weekly chart, it just fulfilled its goal of kind of, after this big green bar, at least getting a little bit higher. But you can see here we're kind of hesitating. So it's just a big pause after a run up, which is expected. I think there are better buy signals unfolding. If we can kind of fill in these gaps and head up, we'll see if that develops, but you never know. But anyway, in terms of the first 2 days of the week, there was with exhaustion risk, and you don't really want to get short, to start this day off on Monday. There was just a brief trade, and then even if you just broke even, it was tricky in terms of playing the afternoon. Then today, given that the price action really was nowhere near the pre-market highs, you kind of anticipate a little bit of a pullback, and once you reach the halfway point of yesterday, you took out the low of yesterday down here. So that was the trade today. So let's see how we close. Monthly chart did the same thing. It kind of took out you're anticipating this hammer bar heading higher, so it's done that. So again, eventually when we if we stay above this yellow line, we'll look for our bigger targets up here. If we go below it, we'll have to be patient and see how much of a pullback you get before we head higher. But until this weekly chart is really taken out on the, maybe taking the midpoint of that week, then you're still bullish and just kind of playing this consolidation, waiting for a good trade back to the upside. And if it's below the yellow line, you can kind of see how far it might want to pull back in case you get some kind of crazy failure to the downside. But for now, it's just consolidation. And the trade today was definitely, a kind of morning pullback trade to the downside. So let's see how we close today, and let's see how this week unfolds.